Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is May 31st, 2014, and this is High School Esports League, brought to you by High School Esports League. Today, we got Blue Springs, Missouri facing off against East High School Varsity, which they were actually featured in not just more than a club on that front page of Rights featured, and they're from Des Moines, Iowa. So a little bit of home pride since I am in Iowa. I'm really rooting for East High School Varsity to win this. Frascaran, what can we really expect from these teams?
So I did a little bit of digging. My experience isn't too deep with either of these teams. So as far East High was perhaps the easiest to look up. We're going to see some explosive assassin play. One of their players really likes to play champions that kind of all in or nothing. A lot of Aurelia top. I saw that they had almost 100% Aurelia top in most of the ranked games that they played, which is pretty exciting because Aurelia has been on the rise, not necessarily known as a super popular champion, although again, kind of resurging in that meta there. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting picks. The standard support picks across the board, very Thresh Leona players coming out. So a lot of hard engage, a lot of picks, and this should be really exciting.
That is definitely true. Now, touching on that Aurelia top, for one of the casting events that I did last night, and God, if I have to do another 9-hour event, I'm don't know if I'm going to be able to handle it. But there was a lot of Aurelia tops, and especially with the meta as it is, being that tank meta, and also along with the teleport, how do you think that's going to affect these teams going into the gameplay?
So specifically, the Aurelia player is East High's top laner, Dime, if he chooses to stick with that position. Plays Aurelia, Trundle, and Renekton. As far as Aurelia in the current meta right now, you have to think that the strong champions in the top lane are Shyvana. Renekton's kind of fallen out of favor. We saw him kind of the god tier lizard for a very long time, the Godzilla of top lane, but mostly it's Shyvana and Trundle. Aurelia does well against a Trundle. She can get the snowball, however, but you have to think Trundle, he'll eventually kind of outscale her. If they go even in a lane, Trundle's always going to outscale his lane opponent just because of how his ultimate works, allowing him to tank the tankiness and the damage from his opponent. Most Trundles rush Bork now, so they get free tank stats, and then they have the Bork on top of it, which makes him really good as an answer for Shyvana, just because Shyvana scales with resistances. But the nice thing about Trundle and Aurelia is that they both have mana, and this is why I'm going to bring up the mana, because Aurelia into Shyvana, the other really top tier top pick, is Shyvana has obviously an edge because she doesn't use mana. And anytime you don't bring mana or a resource into a lane, you're eventually going to have an edge there. Aurelia needs Snowball. Both these junglers play Kha'Zix Lee Sin. So we should see a lot of ganks go top if the Aurelia comes out, because Aurelia needs to get ahead to become the powerhouse later down in the road.
Well, the champion selection along with the picks and bans are coming down. First ban coming down for Rengar, second ban coming out is going to be Kale, and along with Vi for the third ban. Now, what can we actually see for the fourth, fifth, and sixth bans? I apologize. Thresh already being banned for the fourth pick, and going to be sent over now to East Des Moines and get their bans underway. So it is going to be Blue Springs, Missouri versus Des Moines, Iowa.
The Rengar Vi Thresh bans, not surprising to see this come out. Rengar came up, as did Vi, in these champion histories for these players. CJ plays a lot of Rengar. I think it was his number one played. Rengar is actually considered very OP by a lot of professional players right now.
And for that, another ban coming down, a very strong pick for support, actually banning that out, is going to be that Braum support. And the last but not least, the final ban, Kha'Zix.
Kha'Zix, number one player for multiple teams in the professional scene. I saw a lot of Kha'Zix when I was searching through these two teams' players' history, so not surprising that go down. Considered one of the top tier junglers right now. But that does leave Lee Sin open, and I know that there's a lot of Lee Sin players throughout these teams.
Along with the Lease, I know a lot of junglers, still Lease in that meta being one of the stronger jungles, but going to be actually hovering over Twitch right now for East Des Moines, trying to see if they can actually pick that up, or they might go to another marksman. But it is going to be the lock-in for Twitch. I'm going to have to see what is going to be the next two picks.
The strength with Elise you brought up as a jungler, and obviously I'll touch on Twitch real quickly, is that she's very good at pushing down towers with her spiderlings and the steroid there. And when the tower pushing meta was very popular, of course you're going to see a lot of Elise despite her nerfs. Twitch right now has come out as pretty much the #1 pick internationally. He's considered very strong, toe-to-toes with Lucian. I feel like Lucian has a little bit of an edge, and because we saw Twitch pick up, I wouldn't be surprised to see a response of a Lucian pickup then. The lane phase, like I said, it can go either way, Twitch versus Lucian. I feel like Lucian has tools on his kit to decide when he wants to fight Twitch via his relentless pursuit, his E to dash in. But anytime you stand toe-to-toe with a Twitch, any AD carry, you're going to lose.
And for that, the lock-ins for Blue Springs, Missouri by Snow Leopard and CJ Cool is going to be that Lucian and Morgana bottom lane composition pick.
The interesting thing about the Morg pick, a lot of people assume that it goes straight into a support pick, but actually the mid laner for Blue Springs has shown to play a lot of Morgana. So Inspired there is their mid laner. So this could very possibly still be a Morgana mid.
And for that, Young D Money and Inspired, the Inspired actually being the captain of East High School Varsity from Des Moines, Iowa, is actually going to be locking in that Yasuo pick and still hovering over. Actually going to be switching to now Lee Sin pick, as you did mention before and you touched on. Actually going to be switching it over and locking in for Pantheon. So the man drop. How do you feel about the recent changes to Pantheon? Very strong nerfs to him, and Grand Skyfall not as useful as it once was.
Yes, but you also have to think Pantheon wasn't necessarily always considered overpowered, quote-unquote overpowered or strong in the jungle meta due to his Grand Skyfall. Yes, it gives him a lot of counter gank potential, but Pantheon's strength has always been in the early game. Even when he wasn't used as a jungler in the lane phase even, it was more so about the fact that early game, there are very few champions that could stand toe-to-toe to Pantheon. His tower dive potential with his passive is insane because he can block tower shots. And the fact that he can get a crit makes early game very dangerous for lanes anytime a Pantheon is in the game. Because essentially he comes into a lane and you're under 50%, 40% HP, he's guaranteed a crit there with kind of one combo, finishes off with the spear. It's going to crit and you're going to die.
Of course. And for the next two picks actually coming out from Blue Springs, Missouri, is going to be OP picking up that lock-in for Lux, and also I'm Waba picking up that Elise for the jungle spot. And over onto the East Varsity for Des Moines, Iowa, going to be locking in that Renekton and Lulu. I'm going to have to see what the last pick for Blue Springs, Missouri is going to be.
So OP actually has like 200 ranked games on Lux. It's his most played champion. So this, with Lux being picked up, this does guarantee that Morg's going to be going into a support position, which fares well for Lucian. You think that Lucian has the cleanse on his Relentless Pursuit that cleanses slows, but now you also add the fact that he gets a black shield there. Pretty much their AD carry should be completely safe for the remainder of this game. As for the Renekton pickup, we haven't seen the top lane pickout go out for Blue Springs. Lulu, obviously, the support, just taking that away from the mid pick despite having the Lux go down. It's a strong pickup because it makes Twitch's lane very safe. It gives him the whimsy for good escape, and it makes him extra tanky.
Of course, and the last and final lock-in is going to be Trundle up against that Renekton. How do you think that's going to fare, to be honest?
This goes in favor of Trundle if Renekton doesn't get a snowball. And the reason why is kind of what we talked about before. Trundle's ultimate makes him very, very powerful late game because essentially Renekton's going to get big and tanky, and he's going to have, you know, his Giant's belts and his Randuins and things like that. And Trundle is literally going to press R on him, take all of his stats, be just as tanky, but then he's going to build a Bork and he's going to have more damage on top of Renekton. That said, it is very popular for Renekton players to build more of a damage-centric build. We see a lot of Hydras coming out on Renekton since the popularity that PDD made that in the Chinese LPL scene. But so it could go either way. That said, Renekton, he needs to find a snowball here against Trundle. Otherwise, Trundle's going to run away with that matchup.
And one thing I do want to mention, looking at the top lane, Trundle taking that barrier instead of going the teleport, unlike Renekton. So will that actually affect the top lane?
If a Trundle player is taking a barrier into a Renekton, he's obviously afraid of that Renekton player, and he's respecting the fact that he thinks that the Renekton player is going to come down really hard on him, because that barrier is really only going to be useful in the early game against Renekton's 1 through 3 level burst damage. I don't know if there's a skill discrepancy here or that these players know each other, but not taking up the teleport is definitely going to hurt him, and because he's not only trading his teleport for global map control and objective, but he's also trading it for a kill summoner. He's not taking the ignite, so he's not going like full on in your face, I'm going to kill you, Renekton, and picking up a defensive summoner. So that's pretty curious right there.
And actually, as we were just talking about, Snow Leopard on Trundle is actually going to be changing up to Ghost and Teleport, and for Renekton, it's going to be Flash and Teleport. So, looking for the blue side for East High School Varsity from Des Moines, Iowa, we have Demicia in the top lane as Renekton, Young D Money in the jungle as Pantheon in the middle lane. It's Inspired, the captain of East High School Varsity from Des Moines, Iowa, on Yasuo in the middle lane. In the bottom lane, Hi, I'm D Care on Twitch, and his support Red Flares on Lulu. And
forgive me, I know I'm supposed to do the blue side, but I can't see their names in front of me right now due to some technical issues. Would you please give us your sultry voice with that the announcement for the blue team?
No problem. And coming out from Blue Springs, Missouri, on the purple side, Snow Leopard in the top lane as Trundle, CJ Cool in the jungle as Elise, OMFGOP as Lux in the middle lane, and for the bottom lane, I'm Waba on Lucian, and a random hobo in the bottom lane as Morgana support. So looking at that, I mean, gonna have to be interesting win wall going into Lux's for OP's Lux.
I really like East High's composition here. The fact that you're bringing Lucian and Twitch, or excuse me, not Lucian, Twitch, Yasuo and Twitch. So those two champions ramp very hard into late game. They're considered late game hyper carries. But then you're also bringing a bridge. And what I mean by bridge is champions that do really well. It's important in a composition to have champions that do well early game and champions that do well late game. So that way you're kind of covered your entire bases over the game. The bridge here is going to be Lulu and Pantheon. Typically AP Lulu is known as even though this is a support Lulu, is known as a really good bridge from mid game to late game because obviously she brings incredible bully potential and burst damage into the lane. And then obviously her utility outscales and shines really well in late game. So Lulu is a fantastic bridge. Pantheon obviously incredibly strong in the early mid games and then starts to teeter off, becomes more kind of like a tank cannon fodder champion there. So I like the fact that they have their hyper carries, but they're definitely protecting them with kind of these bridge picks. On the other side though, Blue Springs, they really need to find strength kind of in the mid game. Lux has a good late game just to her cooldown space, but she really shines in kind of that mid game, as does Lucian, and Trundle obviously scales well into late game. But I feel like if Blue Springs wants to find a victory here, they need to find the snowball early and they need to pressure a mid game advantage.
And no truer words have ever been spoken. We are now starting to get on the Rift right now. So as we do go into the loading screen, I want to thank each and every single one of these teams and also High School Esports League for bringing this competitive environment to these high school students that necessarily do not have the potentials. I mean, living in Iowa myself, you got corn and bean fields, and Iowa is one of those states that is definitely known, especially in the Midwest, for their sports. And coming into esports, it's just throwing that mentality just on a dime and changing that paradigm around.
Definitely. It's a fantastic organization to give kind of amateur teams this scene to compete. Everyone talks about, the success of the LCS and how we wish there were more more tournaments out there for us to participate in. If you're not like on the super high-end challenger level, which we do have a lot of high-end players, a really nice spectrum of levels of play coming into this tournament, which is also fantastic to see. But again, just a great organization in general, giving players this opportunity, allowing us to come and cast these exciting games. So very exciting.
That is true, and I don't know about you, but more events that I can cast, get more resume experience is always a good thing.
As usual. I'm still loading up. Are you still loading up?
I am seeing everyone that is at just at 100%, Renekton's at 70, but we'll be getting into the game momentarily. Just checking with you. Is that where you're seeing it? Renekton loading in at around 80% right now?
Yeah, I got Diamond. He's just hitting 90% here, but everyone else is ready to go. So we'll be hitting the Rift soon. Again, on the blue side is going to be the East High. Purple side is going to be Blue Springs.
And definitely for varsity, East High School Varsity, I apologize, from Des Moines, Iowa, they were featured on the front page of Reddit not just more than a club. And they did a full front page feature on that for a video on esports, LOL esports.
I'll have them sign my mouse pad. Definitely cool to have some celebrities involved into the game. But we'll see if their track record, since obviously if they're having front page news about them, they've been working together for a long time. So we'll see if that synergy really comes through in their play.
And especially with that being one of the players, as we do load onto the Rift right now, one of the actually players that were in it, Ben Nguyen, as the name is for that player, actually looks a little bit like Wild Turtle.
I love Wild Turtle. He just looks like he's happy to be there. But
he did not look very happy when X Special didn't give him a hug at the week 2, unfortunately.
Too soon.
I'm sorry. I had to go there. But nonetheless, where I am going is going to be going on to the Rift, and we're going to have to see what Blue Springs is actually going to bring up against Des Moines, Iowa right now.
So obviously on the latest patch changes, trinkets are available 30 seconds out of the gate. We do see an early ward coming out from East High there. Care popping that mid brush with the trinket there. However, not many other wards going down, mostly in defensive positions, which typically either teams just do a standard 4-point. And what I mean by a 4-point is they cover the 4 entrances into the jungle, or they trade. Typically it's the red buff that they'll actually both invade at the same time and just trade those buffs. But it seems pretty safe this game. No one looking for a deep invade, just kind of spreading out their numbers, checking the jungle entrances.
Of course, because level 1 shenanigans can always happen at all skill levels, and definitely casting some challenger level games. I've seen some of those. The level 1 shenanigans is real, but it's not going to be real this game.
Yeah, and despite the fact that both teams have a pretty decent level 1, I would say that definitely Blue Springs has the better level 1, taking the Dark Binding, and if OP decides to start his light Binding as opposed to his E, there's also that possibility. But First Blood, it's not really worth much. It's 250 gold that's going to buy you 2 pots. It's more so about getting that summoner, but they are going to start their respective bottom buffs, so you have CJ on his blue buff, Young on his red buff.
That is true, so like I said, no level 1 shenanigans going to be coming out from either side of the Rift. And while they do, it looks pretty standard lanes right now, just 1-1-2, along with the junglers in that jungle just farming up. So no rotations just yet coming out from these teams.
I'm actually really curious that they decided to really go for a 2v2 in the bot lane. Lucian, even though Twitch is very strong, I feel like Lucian definitely is the better lane champion. Again, we talked about how he has the tools to choose when he wants to fight Twitch, and typically when you don't win a 2v2 matchup, you just switch to the top lane and it's a tower rush, free farm. And free farm is really important for Twitch. He scales well into late game, so they're definitely looking for kills by saying that they want to force the 2v2 here.
Now, I have to say, looking at the marksman, who do you think has more skill coming into this? Now, Home Pride, obviously, we're going to go with high Dim Care on Twitch, but that's just me.
Well, neither of them have missed a CS yet. The wave is actually pushed against Care there on his Twitch, so despite his CS actually being down, it's because the wave is pushing towards him, which really just goes to Hobo pushing that lane with his Tormented Soul, which is very smart. You have to think that Lulu is a poke-based champion. Ooh, but a gank actually being set up in this mid lane here.
And can the cocoon land? And the wind wall actually blocks it. And just will not be enough damage. Very good wind wall coming out from Yasuo.
And it's really hard to gank a Yasuo. And Inspired actually has a lot of Yasuo on his match history, so this is a champion that he frequents quite often. Ooh, and now in the bottom lane, Red Flare's taking a little bit of harass. And this is what we were talking about. The fact that, although sitting sustained damage, Waba, ooh. The fact that Morgana is able to push the wave actually makes it harder for Red Flares to get off a lot of Lulu damage because he has more minions to compete with. That said, anytime, again, you stand toe-to-toe and you have a sustained fight with a Twitch, he will win. So the issue there was that Blue Springs just stood in that trade a little bit too long and allowed East High to kind of come out ahead.
That is definitely true. So even with the failed gank in middle, 23-15, the captain of East High School Varsity really showing his presence and skill on Yasuo right now.
And Yasuo is a really scary matchup for Lux. Yasuo excels. Oh, another gank going down.
But it's just not going to land. Repel does go down onto Inspired, but CJ Cool actually take too much damage, is actually going to back away for right now.
And while that gank happened in the mid lane, Young Money saw that there was going to be no counter gank because he saw Elise in mid and decided to try his hand at a gank in the bot lane. However, Dark Binding ended that before it began. But as I was saying kind of about Inspired, Yasuo versus the Lux matchup, Lux is a skill shot based champion. Inspired has a lot of tools to dash around and dodge Lux's skill shots.
And for that, we actually might see First Blood coming down. Red Flare's extremely low, but they're going to have to actually flash out right now as Young D Money is going to come out from the back. No First Blood, but Red Flare's looking really low, so he's going to actually have to recall.
And Hobo had fantastic positioning for that to really make that a close fight. Again, the fact that they Blue Springs has such control over the bot creep wave, they consistently have more minions than East High. They're able to make aggressive plays like that. If Young Money hadn't shown up out of his jungle and kind of threatened with the pressure there, that could have been bad.
And in top lane, trying to go for that gank, and CJ Cool just not landing his cocoons. No matter how hard he tries this, it's not landing, so he's going to have a little bit of taxing up in top lane.
He is doing a good job staying relatively even with farm with Young Money, however, though, 21-19. So despite the fact that he's been very mobile and very forward with his team, kind of ganking mid lane, ganking top lane, a lot, he's keeping up in farm, so he's not falling behind. He's not being punished for the fact that these ganks aren't going through.
And that is definitely true. Now, Trundle and Elise are going to have to recall, and we're actually going to see a teleport come out from Trundle, so getting right back into lane. And right now, 43-34 in top lane against the CS. In the jungle, 23-19. And the last breath going down onto OP. Will it actually be enough damage? It will not. And the laser actually picking up First Blood onto Yasuo. Had to be watching out for that.
So fantastic read by OMG OP right there. The fact that he saw the wind wall go down, so he knew that Yasuo didn't have it for defense to sidestep and then drop the laser. I feel like Inspired was pretty much like, there's no way that laser hit me. That was like the sides of the lane, which it was at the very tip, but fantastic placement by OP there for that First Blood.
I'm firing my lasers, but at the same time, in bottom, gonna have to watch out as Dark Binding does land on I'm to Care, and looking really low right now. They don't want to go too hard into this, but still Lucian take a lot of damage, especially from the Whimsy stick coming out from...
And again, you can't have a sustained fight with Twitch in a lane. Waba here just needs to be more cautious about poke in, dash in, burn his Q, use his passive, and then dash back out. And really, he's just stepping forward, and he's having these elongated fights with Care, and Care is able to get the contaminate damage out. He's able to take multiple Whimsies in a trade, and that's just not how you want to play a Lulu Twitch bot lane.
No, it is not. So still First Blood going in favor of Blue Springs, Missouri. Now, come on, East High School, I am rooting for you. Home pride. You must take home the gold for the win. But just going to have to see how these teams do play it out. 300 gold in favor of Blue Springs, Missouri right now.
And that 300 gold is entirely on the First Blood. Because it happened after 4 minutes, it was for the full 400 gold duration. So they're still definitely in this. That power is just on the mid lane Yasuo. So these lanes, despite there being a gold disadvantage, there's really no excuse to be losing these lanes. But a Grand Skyfall in the bottom lane.
And the Grind Skyfall is definitely coming in. The stun goes on to I'm Waba along with the man drop exhaust. And that is going to be a spear to the face. And that is going to be 2 kills in the bottom lane. Pantheon picking up 1 and Twitch on the other. Couldn't get out of that man drop just as quick.
So unfortunately for Blue Springs there, they just did not have the wards available to deal with a Pantheon threat of control. Obviously, I mean, you look around the bottom side of the map, it's 3 wards, but they're all blue. You have 1 purple ward kind of in that top brush. Lux trying to be cheeky with this dragon, still definitely not going to get it, so just didn't have the wards available for them.
But Final Spark comes out, so will not last, and the dragon still goes in favor of East Varsity, and that's going to be yet another kill in favor of East High Varsity. So coming out from it, that's now 3-1. 2,000 gold lead and the first dragon of the game.
The issue there is you have to think how long Lux's ultimate is, and the fact that OMG wanted to essentially high-five the enemy team while he threw down his final spark there didn't help him.
And in top lane, Damasio looking really low. Snow Leopard's actually going to be able to pick up the kill and get away safely. And there's going to be no jungle presence. Grand Skyfall is on cooldown, so it's not going to be able to stop Snow Leopard from recalling. But still.
And you're exactly right there. Snow Leopard just recognized that Pantheon wasn't in the area to do anything since he saw the dragon go down from OMG. So he was able to make that call like, yes, I can afford to dive here. I can afford to go hard.
And for that, looking at it now is 52-68 in CS for the marksman. And what do you think about what they're building right now?
This is a pretty traditional build for Twitch to go Bork right now because, again, he is a sustained carry. It's more about getting a lot of shots off and kind of how his rat-a-tat-tat works. Lucian, pretty standard build is to go BT into Trinity for mid-game burst potential. Twitch definitely has the strength here in the build since he has the first part of his cutlass. And in fact, he also has the daggers down, so very close to actually finishing off this Bork, where Lucian doesn't have his BF yet. So he cannot fight Twitch right now. Twitch is definitely ahead.
And that is definitely going to be looking, as we do come into this, still 2-0-1 and actually Lucian, but the man drop is going to be coming down, seeing they can do it already. Wild Growth popping onto red flares. Young D-Money coming in for the man drop. Elise is going to try to come in. Final Spark onto the enemy team. That's going to be one kill picked up on the Morgana. They're still going for it. Renekton already teleporting bottom. CJ Cool not going to have anywhere to go. Actually, he does repel onto an enemy champion. Yasuo, though, is going to be able to pick up the kill. And they're going to turn their attention to I'm Waba, which is going to now die. And they actually knock up. Is going to be able to pick up yet another kill. Going now 3-1 in favor of East High School Varsity.
That was a 4-1 trade in their favor there, which is essentially bad news bears. Again, we talk about how their carries are Yasuo and Twitch, so late game ramping carries. The fact that they're already starting to get these snowballs, these early kills, is just going to spiral even more out of control. It's Blue Springs right now that needs to be in control of the game because they have the mid-game picks. And they're essentially kind of just getting out-rotated. A great use of Grand Skyfall right there, but an even better collapse and a fantastic teleport from Dime there to really turn the tide of that fight.
And that just proves communication is key within a team, and also skill-wise. I mean, these are players that have gotten what they wanted for champions, seeing that Inspire is on Yasuo, being one of his top picks in solo queue.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard to ban out players that have such large pools. I mean, again, when I was doing research on all these players, I mean, they pretty much played not only a variety of champions in a single role, but pretty much every single role. I think 9 out of these 10 players were like top lane. They had like top lane picks like Jax and Ryze on their most played, as well as like support champions. So a very versatile group of players here.
And that is definitely true, but somehow you got to start climbing that elo on that elo ladder, and you being in Diamond yourself, you all know all about that, don't you?
Climbing the elo ladder is no fun, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
And for that, with that is now 7-3 in favor of East High School Varsity from Des Moines, Iowa, and already 4,000 gold lead, and the first dragon of the game going in favor of them. But Subjugate is going down on Damasio right now. Gonna have to see if they can actually pick it up. Slice and Dice going down onto Snow Leopard, and will they actually be able to get away? All the chomps and the bat swings coming out from Trundle. Gonna whittle him down just a little bit, but in bottom lane, I'm Waba actually gonna get interrupted from the calling. Mandrop coming down, Exhaust going down, and Mandrop is gonna go in. He's gonna go, a random hobo actually gonna get picked up for the kill, sacrificing his life so his teammate could live, but Inspired going to start focusing their attention towards CJ Cool along with OMG, as 3 members of East Varsity are going to start turning their attention to it, but they're going to clear out the wards and see if they can start sieging on that middle tower.
Again, another fantastic Grand Skyfall from Young Money there. He actually didn't turn towards Lucian because he figured that the Twitch poison would get him, but Dime may actually be in a little bit of trouble here. Doesn't have his Dominus available.
No, he does not, but then again, on the other hand, Subjugate is not available either, so both ultimates are down, so Damasio just going to have to back off from that engage. Can't get too much farm right now, but he is still in the lead, even though he is down 1 kill.
Dime has to be very careful. You do talk about how he is ahead of CS, but he cannot fight Snow Leopard right now, especially not on the extended lane because he doesn't have his tower. This is a huge area for him to run, and the thing that Trundle excels at is chasing people down, obviously, because he has bonuses to his movement speed. He has the pillar. So despite the fact that he doesn't have Subjugate available to him, doesn't really stop him from just mowing down Renekton.
And for that, he also has Bilgewater Cutlass, so even a little bit movement speed right there, too.
I thought he could have killed Dime the last time. I think he was a little overzealous with his intentions by popping the Cutlass right away, but this is just going to get scarier for Dime in the top lane as soon as Snow Leopard finishes up his Bork.
And that is definitely true. Now being 1-0 over Renekton from East High, and to see how these teams do come around since the Dragon is now live, trying to come around, but gonna have to watch out. Lux throwing out a little ball of light, trying to poke away the team, but at the same time, Random Hobo actually going to be caught out a little bit by Hi I'm Dekea, and actually Inspire's going to go in, start slashing and dicing, and the Exhaust going down along with Dark Binding onto Inspired, and this is what I love to see right now. They are grouping as a 5-man group and trying to take those objectives.
You're exactly right. East High is essentially just flexing how much more coordinated of a team they are right now. They have the Dragon Timer. They're making sure that all 5 members are there and available for it, but ooh, the Grand Skyfall now going down.
And the man drop is going to land right on to CJ Cool. He's going to be stunning, but there's going to be nowhere for him to go. And that's going to be actually a pickup. He was just a little bit out of range of that white camp. And right now, Demacia right now is running, but that's actually going to be a last breath pickup. The Calling trying to pick up, just not going to be enough range. Still going to be able to pick it up. Young D Money seeing what he can do right now, but that's going to be a shutdown onto Young D Money. And Inspired looking really low right now. He's going to have to get the hell out of there if he wants to live.
That fight, that area of the fight was exactly what Blue Springs wanted. That final spark was fantastic by OP. I think it went across all 4 or 5 members. Ooh.
But it looks like Renekton's going to be able to pick up Lucian without any problem. Ruthless Predator stun locking him down. There's no where to run. Now they're on the chase, on the hunt, going for Lux, but they're going to actually have to back off. Oh no! And Inspired actually getting caught out a little bit. Cocoon is going to be enough. Going to be able to pick it up. That's going to be 1 kill. Can CJ Cool actually pick it up? That is a double kill for Blue Springs, Missouri. Now that's going to allow the opening for Dragon without contesting.
So a couple of really important things happened during that elongated fight there. Obviously, East High showed incredibly impressive when they did take the team fight. They showed that they had better coordination, the fact that, you know, the final spark was fantastic from Blue Springs there, but there was no one really to capitalize on it. But the mistake was made when East High decided to hang around, which then allowed the communication to Snow Leopard there to take down an inhib tower. That's an inhib tower at 17 minutes, which means that wave is constantly going to be pushed against, and East High is going to have to take care of that, which leads further or easier dragons in the future for them. So the fact that East High had a fantastic team fight showing, but then just made the mistake of staying too long, of being punished for the time that they spent for trying to be greedy, lost them a dragon and a huge inhib tower.
And for that is now going to decrease the gold to only 1,000 gold into East High's favor right now. So we're just going to have to watch out how they do go about this. Honestly, what do they need to focus on for pressure on the map right now?
Since the Dragon's down, the most important objective on the map is the mid-tier tower, which is why you see both teams kind of coordinating in that mid-tower looking for picks.
And for that, as 4 members from Blue Springs, Missouri are now going to start grouping up in mid, at least now joining the fray. Going to have to see how these team fights do go down, and it looks like they're going to have to start focusing on East High's Twitch and also Yasuo if they want anything done.
They have to be careful. I mean, obviously, when they were able to pick up those kills, they were fighting a very weak East High that had just picked up a lot of kills themselves, but hadn't had the time to go and spend their gold money. This time around, full health, do have the gold money spent, so some big items, big purchases coming out. We do have the Static Shiv already completed on Yasuo, the Bork now completed on Twitch. So despite their really good showing, and they got the global gold from the Tower objectives and the Dragon objective, Blue Springs still has to be relatively careful here.
But Yasuo, with that static shift, he is a little bit of a threat right now. But I'm to care looking really well as the man drop is coming down. That's going to be shut down onto Twitch Night right now. It's not looking good. Young D Money going on the stun as the wild growth does knock up Morgana. That's going to be another kill. Last breath onto I'm Waba. That is going to be yet another kill going in favor of East High, going 2-1 right now. 2-1 in favor of East High.
And if you look at Blue Spring's composition, they don't have any hard engage or really any disengage. They have a cocoon, and that's about it. But anytime that they're playing with a Lux, which right now Lux is definitely their huge damage source, and Lucian both excel at poking. You kind of have to think of them as like a Nidalee Ezreal comp almost. They need to poke and get people down and kind of disengage a hard engage until they have a favorable matchup and then engage. I mean, really the only disengage that they have is Trundle, and when you're fighting on such a short lane, like the mid lane with the 2 towers there's no way for Trundle to really help his team with his pillars to back up and elongate a lane to help create a favorable situation for them there, which is just what happened. East High forced the hard engage, and they crushed for it.
And that is true. One thing I do want to touch onto East High's warding placement, is it actually where they need to start focusing those wards, or where would actually be quality placement for those wards for East High?
So it's my actually.
Ooh, OMG, OP is actually taking a lot of damage right now. The true damage ticking away, but will it actually be enough? No, it will not. But still, rat-a-tat-a-tat-a coming out. And in my heart, it will always be spray and pray. But for actually being politically correct, it's going to be rat-a-tat-a, and a lot of damage coming down from that.
Yeah, Kara just trying to play the sneaky assassin Twitch, which right now with his item build he can definitely do on the squishier targets like Lux, like Lucian. As far as talking about ward, you mentioned it's quality versus quantity of wards. That said, because we're in the mid lane, warding isn't necessarily as important as it would be if, say, they were fighting over an objective like Baron, like Dragon, like a blue buff. But again, because they're kind of in the short lane where everyone's visible with the minions, it's not a huge thing. With this Dragon spawning in a minute 30, that's definitely where ward placement is going to become important.
And that is definitely true. And Baron could actually start being taken in the next few minutes also.
It's a very real possibility for East High to get an early Dragon. They do have 2 Borks on their team. You have Yasuo actually sitting with the Cutlass, and then you have a completed Bork on Twitch. So they have a very quick Bork team. That said, Trundle is really good at taking it, so is Elise, and Lucian does have the burst potential there.
And now just trying to put some pressure back on mid. I'm trying to see what they can do.
Yeah, this is exactly what I want to talk about. So the nice thing that Blue Springs has going for them, because they picked up more of kind of like I'm going to call it a utility-based mid laner like Lux, even though let's say AoE-based mid laner like Lux. She's able to clear waves, and she's able to siege towers. And Lucian burns down towers really quickly with his passive, especially when he starts getting these pieces of the Trinity Force like the Sheen going. Whereas East High, despite how kind of far ahead they were for a lot of the game, they don't really have any tower sieging options. You have a melee ranged mid laner, so he can't clear waves safely as effectively as, say, like a Lux can when she just throws her E and kind of watches it go. And they have Twitch, who is good at taking down towers quickly when he can kind of put himself forward.
And that is definitely true. And the man drop actually going to be coming down. Red player's looking really low right now, but having to use wild growth on him. He's actually going to go in, stun onto Lucian right now. Teleport is coming in. CJ Cool getting caught out, but gonna get the knock up on the random hobo, and that's gonna be a 1-for-0 trade in favor of East Varsity. And they're just allowing the Trundle to actually keep split pushing. So even though, and that's actually gonna be a 1-2 punch out knockout for Lucian. So now it's 1-1 in favor of really Blue Springs.
And you're exactly right. Blue Springs wanted to make that trade. That inhibitor is worth far more than any of those kills that they gave up. And the fact that they're then snowballing this off of more objectives, taking that down that mid-tier tower, now looking at the second one, and there goes Care. And
I'm Waba actually picking up Twitch with just his Q. A lot of damage coming down from it as they start looking for that inhibitor tower for middle. Already taking not only tier 1, but also tier 2 middle tower. what can East High actually do right now? Looking pretty grim.
They're also going to lose the dragon, and this is the map that Blue Springs wants. We talked about how Trundle is good at creating space for his team. He's good at creating sustained fights, and the fact that they do have Twitch, obviously he wants a sustained fight, whereas Lucian is much more kind of like burst up front. But the fact that Lucian does decent damage while moving because of his culling. Lux has great cooldowns for sustained fights, and she can pop Twitch if she gets a hold of him. This wide open map of having 2 towers down in the mid lane, of having all of the towers down in the top lane, anytime a fight happens around there and it comes into kind of like a chase mode or in and out, Blue Springs should win it. East High will win if they get like a full-on all-engage and it's just kind of that 1-0 team fight done in like 15 seconds. So if Blue Springs can play the map to their advantage, play their Trundle disengage to their advantage, they're going to look a lot safer right now.
And that is definitely true. So now looking at it, looks like Demacia is having enough of that speed pushing, trying to see what he can do up against his Trundle. But Trundle already has his Ninja Tabbies built. He already has Blade of the Rune King along with Randuin's. On the other hand, all the things that Renekton already has built is just his Randuin's. He doesn't even have Hydras yet.
There's no way that Dime can stand toe-to-toe with Snow Leopard right now. Not only is there a level disadvantage 13 to 15, you have the Bork, you have the Randuins, so, and then you have the Subjugate to deal with it. Dime cannot contest with Snow Leopard.
And with that, it looks like 4 men from Blue High School and the Repel going down onto Red Flares. Nothing's going to be following through it. But 4 men from Blue Springs is going to start looking for that tier 1 bottom tower now.
And this is really smart, just essentially abusing their siege comp. I'm going to call it a siege comp even though it's really just Lucian and Lux. Obviously Elise is decent at pushing towers when she gets into her spider form, but the siege comp of Lucian and Lux right now is really just abusing.
Gonna have to watch out. The cocoon does land on the red flares, and that is going to be one dead Lulu getting caught out. A very rookie mistake.
Quality versus quantity of wards. It wasn't warded. You knew that they were in the bottom side of the map, face checked the bush anyway, and got punished for it.
And with that, Snow Leopard's actually going to start joining the group, tanking the tower, taking those tower shots like they are nothing right now. Taking a little bit of chunks of health, but that is going to be another tower in favor of Blue Springs. And it looked like East High had it at the beginning of the game, but they fell short.
We are definitely also in mid-game right now, so this is where Blue Springs, their champions, are incredibly powerful. That said, unless East High can slow down this ramping snowball, a bit of a fanatic push going on right now, they may not be able to come back from this game because they're losing too many objectives. And Blue Springs really just transitioned. Okay, we're losing the team fights. We keep letting Pantheon getting these engagements. Ooh, red flares.
And the red flares not only getting caught out again, exhaust going down, and that's going to be one dead Lulu once again. Getting caught out for the second time this game.
And their warden just not there. And then again, Blue Springs saying, you know, we keep getting caught out. They keep forcing the engagements on us. Let's change the type of game that we're playing. Let's play an objective-based game, and this is where they're excelling.
And that is definitely true. Cocoon does land on to Inspire. 2 lockdowns. Double whammy from Dark Binding to Cocoon. And that's going to be an inhibitor tower. And they're going to start looking for that inhibitor itself. Inspire is going to be taken down by Elise. M Soul Shackles going down onto Red Flares and the rest of the team. Demacia actually trying to go after, looks like Ultimate being popped. And the stun go down onto Random Hope, but it's going to be flashed away. Taking a lot of damage right now. Gonna not stand, and that's going to be a kill for Snow Leopard going into it. Just Twitch trying to fend off the rest of the team. And Blue Springs looking really low, so they're not going to be able to push for the win. But Snow Leopard, turning his attention to the inhibitor, doesn't have enough damage. Just going to have to get out of there. Now, Snow Leopard's going to turn his attention to High I'm to Care, but exhaust going down. Can we actually see the stun onto Trundle right now? But no, the minions are actually going to be blocking Young D Money before he can even get close.
And this is a free Baron for Blue Springs. Because they had the bottom inhibitor down, obviously that minion wave is going to shove into bot really hard and force East High to respond to it on the bottom side of the map. So it effectively makes East High choose, do we want our base to die to the minion wave that's going to be coming down into bottom, or do we want to try to race Blue Springs to that Baron and contest that? We did see an early ping go down for it right now. OP in this mid lane should just, really what I think they'll do is they'll just shove all of the waves past river. Then they'll ward up around Baron, clear the wards around Baron, and they may either try to set a trap and wait, kind of like an SKT1K. We control the vision. We're going to stand around a corner, wait for you to face check the Baron, and then kill you, and wait for that minion wave to push in, or they're just going to outright do it.
And with all members of East High up, would it actually be a good call? They are ahead in gold. Would it be actually a good call for Blue Springs to start on Baron right now?
They needed to get in position a little bit faster. They kind of dilly-dallied around in the jungle there to allow Inspired there on his Yasuo to shove that wave up past river. So they definitely lost their big window to kind of get a free Baron just by not positioning themselves correctly. But it was a good call by Inspired to realize that he needed to shove that wave as hard and as quickly as possible to get rid of that threat. But I mean, you had Inspired down there. He didn't have the teleport. It could have been a really clean engage for Blue Springs if they decided to go for it.
And that is definitely true. Now the blue buff handing it over to OMGOP and is going to get a blue buff and just trying to deprive him of gold right now.
That's a 30-second final spark with a with a death cap with Fiends. That essentially, if he hits Twitch with that, he pretty much does 75% of the damage by Grand Skyfall.
But man drop is going to come in. It's going to land right down onto Renekton. Now final spark going to go in, and that's going to be one dead Renekton. Just surviving a little bit, but Young D Money's going to go down, and that's going to be 3. Now 4 members of East High School going down, and they're going to start turning their attention to the Nexus Towers, and I do believe this is going to be GG, well played. Nothing much that Twitch is going to do.
I'm not quite sure why East High School decided that they wanted to fight there. I mean, you have to think about this. They didn't have a tower, so they didn't have any passive advantage there, whereas they still had double Nexus Towers standing. Obviously, they want to defend their inhibitor. But if they died there, they instantly lost the game. And I don't really see where that is worth kind of a trade-off or a balance. Like, if we win here, we may save the inhibitor, but they're already kind of poking at it really quickly. If we die here, it's game over.
And definitely that is true. And GG, well played to East High School. Apologize. I am getting too far ahead of myself. To Blue Springs top dongers from Missouri of actually taking that win, going up against East High School varsity. Oh, well, my home pride is a little bit crushed, but congratulations to the winning team. And as you guys just saw, I want to do a big thank you to High School Esports League for providing this pro scene to these amateur high school teams looking to get into the esports community. So please do stick around, and we'll be right back.